Conservative Meat Peeps, what's up? It's me, John D. Villarreal. Now, here's a question, right? It's simple. Well, I want to talk about this whole thing going down in Wisconsin and everything like that. But really in the wake, we'll do that in another video. In the wake of that whole situation, plus all these other situations, strikes and stuff going on with unions in New Jersey and all that type of stuff, but it's all these protests, right? And I guess it's a protest, it's not a strike in Wisconsin or whatever. My question is this, that on a larger perspective, right? Why doesn't the antitrust laws apply to public employee unions? Now, okay, I'm sure there's all kind, I know there's other separate laws and regulations. I forget the names of them that cover the whole union stuff, and I'm sure there's other exemptions or other analysis. I didn't want to look all the stuff up and do all that. I've already worked a lot of those other videos, whatever like that. But it doesn't even matter, right? Because let's just talk about this as a concept, right? I'm a lawyer, everybody knows that, corporate securities, venture capital, intellectual property, and in law school studied a lot of antitrust and stuff like that. So you look at a situation, and basically, I've done a lot in economics, and there's three main cases where government, should step in, or there's a case, rather, for government to step in and assist the market. Externality, I'm throwing out lots of pollution on my land that goes over to your land. I have a nuclear power plant or something like that. Okay, so there needs to be regulation on that. Asymmetric information. I know a ton more about this car that I'm selling you than you do, and therefore there should be lemon laws and stuff like that in case you don't know what's going on with this car and there's a bad clutch or whatever. And the third is monopoly. Well, so here we have a situation with antitrust laws that apply to a monopoly situation. So AT&T got broken up. Microsoft has been examined years ago about the whole antitrust thing. There's always times where, in other words, where the market's not functioning because a player in it, or players, or maybe an oligopoly or whatever like that, have monopolistic power. Okay, and so that's where things can be distorted. You basically can't bargain with someone that has that kind of monopolistic power. They can't enforce what they want, basically. You need something, and they're the only game in town. So, now here's the situation, right? When you think about this, at its basic level, public employee unions, what does that mean? That means that they work in the public sector. That means that they work in giving public services. Okay? Those are things that we all need. Those are things that we said, these are so important and so vital that we're going to have a whole government section for this, or government agency for this, and we're going to fund it with our public dollars. Everyone needs to come together to do this because it's so important. So the point I'm trying to make is simply this. If these public functions are so important and so vital, trash, police, fire, all that kind of stuff, why is it that they should be allowed to strike or effectively protest or whatever it is? Schools for the kids, right? In other words, if I'm a lawyer, if a bunch of lawyers went out on strike, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. Because, maybe you wouldn't be happy because you're a lawyer and say, you can go hire a bunch of other lawyers, or lickety-split. If the architects went out and strike, you can hire a bunch of architects, lickety-split. Chefs, on down the line. Yeah, what happens if all the firefighters strike and there's a fire in your building? What happens, or your house? What happens if all the police strike? Now the criminals are running rampant. What happens if all the border patrol strike? Do you understand what I'm saying? They have basically monopolistic power. This is exactly the kind of problem that an antitrust law was meant to basically combat, because these folks have us over a barrel, figuratively. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if all the teachers strike, yeah, okay, there's private schools. You can't switch your kid into a private school lickety-split. Might not be, maybe you can't afford it. Maybe it's not close to you. Well, who knows what? If all the public, most people's kids go to public schools. So if all the teachers decide to strike or this and that, or protest, and your kids are home and you're taking a day off of work, you have to deal with the kids aren't learning, what are you going to do? You're stuck. And that's the problem. So, I believe that the public employee unions understand the power they have, and they've always, put us in this unbargainable, in a way, position, and they keep ratcheting up, their compensation to the point now where, in my personal opinion, it's gotten totally out of control. So how is it that we have public services that are so vital, that are so needed of taxpayers' dollars, where we have to come together, and yet these people are allowed to strike or protest or something like that. How does that happen? How does that not violate at least the spirit of antitrust law or the whole situation there? How does that happen? That's what I want to know, because basically there is no other alternative. If the garbage collectors or the city sanitation doesn't come and plow the streets, like whatever happened, I don't know what happened in New York, but there was reports of some strange things happening in New York. Nobody else is going to do it. If public school's not open, your kids aren't learning. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand how bad this is? It's the same thing with the cops and firefighters, stuff like that. I just think if you sign up for government work, public service, you have to understand that you're doing a service. No different than if you're in the military. Yeah, you don't get to pick and choose which orders you follow. You may not have liked the president, you may not have voted for the president, you have to follow his orders. I think it's the same thing if you sign up for public service. I think that the leverage and the bargaining power they have is so exorbitant and not market driven that I want everybody to get a fair shake, but we need a situation where it's more balanced out, because I believe it's out of balance, and the proof of that is look at all these states that have massive budget deficits, mostly because, or at least in a large part driven because of what? Public employee union compensation and pensions that are out of control, that everybody knows wasn't sustainable, and yet they happen. And we know about the whole game with the politicians and getting elected and the contributions and all that type of stuff. And that's the other thing, like we talked about in another thing, it's one thing for a union to bargain against a corporation, that someone has to pay the bills, this and that, whatever, and they're not going to do a deal that isn't that they can't live within the corporation. At least, maybe sometime we'll see. I mean, of course, Detroit got into big trouble with that. I mean, that's a situation where even in a private company, they basically were made bad deals, right? Maybe because they felt they had to or whatever. But with the public situation, it's different. The politicians that are voting on these packages, they don't pay the bills. They just want to get elected, a lot of these people, and then they're gone in 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, whatever, and it's someone else's problems. And these things are time bombs that, were 20, 30, 40, 50 years in the making, and now it's coming due. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm just saying, the system is, in my personal opinion, broken, needs to be fixed. And I think we need to take a hard look at whether or not it's, right for public employees, unions to be able to strike. I think we should look at some antitrust analysis on this. I think that we need to look at some other situations on this and just say, listen, what's really the market here for each of these services? Is it something different to be in the public service anyway? I mean, I don't know. I mean, can you strike when you're in the military? I don't believe you can. All that type of stuff. So, I think that being in the government and in these vital public sectors is a different situation, and that's number one. I think number two, that the antitrust analysis should apply. And I just want to know what you guys think about it. Again, I haven't looked up all the laws and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole different long list of analysis over there or whatever like that. But I mean, it just was one of those things where it just struck me. It's like, it's so obvious to me, having been an entrepreneur, venture capitalist, this and that, whatever, studied antitrust, that the bargaining power that these unions have, public employee unions have, is so immense. It's unbelievable, okay? And it's just every time, it's almost like they're, holding the public hostage anytime they want, bigger benefits. And maybe we're seeing that again in Wisconsin. This governor has been elected to do his job. He ran on this platform. The Republican legislators are in there. They're trying to do the thing. And the Democrats have taken off. And now you have these teachers out there protesting when they should be teaching. And the kids and the parents, in my personal opinion, are getting the bad end of it. For, what I believe is a very modest proposal by a governor, not a whole lot different than what Chris Christie's trying to do over in New Jersey. It's out of control. What do you think about it? I want to know what you think about it. What do you think about my idea about, using at least some kind of antitrust analysis on this situation? You tell me what you think. Comments below, subscribe above. I'm John D. Villarreal, and you're watching Conservative Media. And look, we'll just say, look, we love the teachers, the firefighters, the police people, law enforcement, and I'm a big, huge fan of law enforcement, always have been. And public safety. The point is, it's not the firefighters, the cops, this and that, whatever. I understand it. You're there. Everyone wants to make as much money as they can. You got your deal. You did your job. Signed up for it. We need something that's going to work for everybody here. We need to all be fair. The math isn't working anymore, and it's the unions and the union bosses. And it's in my personal opinion, it's an unholy alliance between the union bosses and politicians, particularly Democratic politicians, because it's a simple game, right? The union boss said, "Oh yeah, well, they have mandatory dues. They collect all these dues. This is all my personal opinion, knowledge, and facts, casting aspersions. Check the disclaimers, both sides. You know that." And this includes everything, including the comments on the video and anything related to the video. Now, so they're collecting these dues. Then they contribute to campaigns, heavily Democratic. And then the Democrats get in there and say, "Oh, great, let's give you guys some great contracts, this and that, whatever, Now, maybe they favor labor anyway, but I mean, right? And meanwhile, there's a ticking time bomb. Who pays the bill? Taxpayers pay the bill. Democrats, politicians don't pay the bill. Union bosses don't pay the bill. Taxpayers pay the bill. That's us. So this game has been going on for a long time. And I pointed out in some of those other videos, I was shocked at how many of these different little levels there are, how many different little angles and benefits and in my personal opinion, potential problems with the whole public employee union situation. So it's out of control. Okay? It's really out of control. We need to look at this, and I want to know what you guys think about my modest proposal, in my personal opinion. Subscribe above, comments below. I'm John D. Villarreal. You're watching Conservative Media.